Hello, are you interested in building more loving relationships in your life? Perhaps you're interested in improving your financial blueprint and leaving your job, finally. Improving the environment for future generations, that's a very big key. Or perhaps changing your diet and becoming physically fit. You know, whatever your desires and dreams, I want to welcome you to this edition of Living the Lifestyle You Deserve, dedicated to personal wellness and the human condition. My name is Robert Keller, and I will be your host for the next half hour. Welcome to the show. You could have been anywhere else, but you came here. Thanks for showing up. My very special guest today is a remarkable woman. I've known her for a long time, and she is out of this world, let me tell you. In her own words, I'm going to steal some of your words, Sandra Dawes is a recovering control freak and excuse maker, as well as the founder of Embrace Your Destiny. She's an author, speaker, and certified life coach specializing in teaching women how to stop arguing for their limitations so that they can reclaim their power and live the life they deserve. That sounds like something that I would have said. Sandra holds an honors BA and an MBA, as well as a certificate in dispute resolution. Through meditation, affirmations, yoga, and mirror work, Sandra learned how to achieve balance and awareness that has helped her to discover her desire and passion to help others do the same. I'm proud to say that Sandra is part of the Living the Lifestyle You Deserve professional team. Her subject today is the 5 keys to living an extraordinary life. It's going to be a great show. Sandra, you've got plenty of work. We only have a half hour. I want to welcome you to the show. Sandra Dawes.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having me.
Beautiful. So, 5 keys to living an extraordinary life. Where did that come from?
It actually came from my journey because in 2013 I had been working a full-time job while doing my coaching practice part-time. And I started my coaching practice in 2009. So it had been almost 4 years of doing this, doing my passion as a side hustle. And I'd had all these excuses, hence the recovering control freak and excuse maker, of why I needed to hold on to this job even though it wasn't what was fulfilling me and what I really wanted to do. Okay. And things happened in 2012 that made me just commit to, you know, making this happen regardless of the fact that I hadn't saved this magical number in my bank account yet and, you know, the stars hadn't perfectly aligned. I was just going to do it. And these 5 keys are the things that I actually put into practice in my own life to get me to that point where I could let go of my full-time job, pursue my passion full-time, and actually take those first 6 weeks after leaving my full-time job to write my first book.
Beautiful. Now, are these keys, by the way, are they just for women or are they for anybody?
They're for anybody.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Excellent, excellent. Well, keep going. This is good. I want to learn what they are. You're getting me excited about it.
Okay, let's start. So the first key is about getting clarity on your goals. I like to look at achieving your goals sort of as a road trip, right? So you can have the fanciest car and the most high-tech GPS, but if you don't know exactly where you want to go, how will you ever know if you get there? You know what I mean?
I do.
And so it's about not just saying you want to go to Florida, but where in Florida you want to go. So it's not just about I want to leave my job, but what kind of job do you want to leave this current job to go into, or what are the next steps? So getting clear on what that end result is, right? Because, you know, from the 7 habits of highly effective people, it's starting with the end in mind. So you have to know where that final destination is and sort of work your way back from that. So getting clarity on your goals, I find, is such an important and the first key to making your goals a reality.
So how is that difficult to finally get clarity on that? Does it take you a long time to figure that out?
I think there's so many different tools that you can use to get that kind of clarity, whether it's, again, borrowing from the 7 habits, creating that legacy. You know, what do you want to be remembered for? You know, what do you want to leave behind for your loved ones and your friends and everyone? You know, what is that? And once you start
is that like a legacy? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, a legacy, or even, you know, writing your obituary. You know, how do you really want to be remembered? What are those key things that you want to be remembered for? And, you know, as morbid as it may seem, you know, we're not guaranteed how much time we have in this life. So it's about looking at what you want to accomplish and then starting to do things to make that happen right now, because there's no point in waiting. And that's the lesson that I learned, is that instead of constantly putting things off for tomorrow or for next year or, you know, next decade, do something about it now, because you never know.
That's interesting. As you were talking, you don't mind if I say something about that. As you were talking about the fact that you know what kind of legacy you're leaving, I remember one of my students had an issue with that and the passion about what he's supposed to be doing, and I suggested what he do is he was to write his eulogy.
Yeah.
And you do the same?
Yes.
That's the same logic, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it funny how people really look at that and say, "My goodness, I didn't really know what my destiny was."
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, is that part of your book? Yeah.
Okay. It all comes together. But even whether it's doing your bucket list or doing a vision board, just doing something that helps you to focus on what it is that you want for your life, and then just attacking piece by piece those little things that you want to accomplish.
Nice, nice. Where do you start to do that?
Well, you can look at the different areas of your life, you know, like what kind of relationships do you want? What kind of career do you want? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Those different things. And then once you're clear on what you want to work towards, then you can start to make a plan to make that happen.
And that can involve relationships with others as well?
Yeah, it could be really any part of your life, right? Whether it's your health or, you know, you want to travel and see the world, you're, you know, having more fun in your life, different things like that, your finances, right? So there are so many different pieces to it.
Well, as I began to know you a little better, it obviously has worked for you.
Yes.
That's exciting.
And so after you get clear on your goals, the second thing I like to do is talk about silencing the peanut gallery.
And this is the second key,
This
right?
is the second key, is silencing the peanut gallery. And the peanut gallery are your well-meaning friends and family, the media, social media. They come from so many different sources, and these are the people who are going to tell you that your goals are not possible, that you're wearing rose-colored glasses or being a little bit too Pollyanna when you start talking about your dreams and your desires. So you want to really be able to, you know, the talk is going to be there, the chatter is going to be there, sort of like the backseat driver, again, going back to the road trip analogy. But if you know where you're headed, you can't let those other people take you off course, right? So it's about really holding firm in your goals and really supporting or surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you in making those goals happen. And I think that for me, the biggest lesson was learning that when people tell you that you shouldn't do things or that they wouldn't do that if they were you, they're coming from a place of fear, and it's because they don't know any better, because they've been held back by their own limitations and their own fears. So they're coming from that perspective. And so one of my biggest takeaways was learning to take advice from people who have been where you want to go, instead of taking advice from people who are
Nice.
where you are right now or where you've been in the past.
Beautiful.
So, because those people who have achieved what you're trying to achieve can give you a different perspective and a different kind of advice than the people who are sitting at home watching TV saying, oh, I wish I could, but I know it's not possible.
A little engine that could.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's really about, you know, being mindful of the people that you surround yourself with, and reducing your exposure to the negativity that's out there, right? So there's so many, whether it's the newspaper or your 11 o'clock news, there's so many. You know, if the world was how the news depicts it a lot of the time, we would never leave our homes.
No,
right?
That's sad
because
truth. Very true. Yes,
it paints such a negative picture, right? You know, there's murders and all these horrible things, but the world is not that, right? Some sources of media choose to focus on that, but that's not the way the world works. So it's just understanding that you can choose where to focus your energies on.
That's neat. As you were talking, are you familiar with Blair Singer's work?
No.
Okay, so Blair Singer has, I thought about this as you were talking about the little voice that comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
And he's got this formula that talks about little voice that sits right on the shoulder, right there. And it's always coming out and saying, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You're not good enough. You're too old. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're not smart enough.
What if it doesn't work out?
What if it never works out? You know, it's incredible. So how you could possibly live the lifestyle you deserve if you can't get by that particular issue of having to address that little man that's sitting on the
negative
shoulder,
self-talk.
which is part of your second key. It's the peanut gallery. Silence the peanut gallery.
Yeah, and we are our #1 offenders of the peanut gallery, right? We
buy right into it.
Yeah, exactly, because it's there 24/7. So it's just understanding that if you want this goal bad enough. And that's the thing, right, is that this goal has to be meaningful to you, because if you don't want it bad enough, then the little voice is going to convince you not to do it. And that's why having that support system is so important, because instead of having friends who are going to talk you off the ledge, sometimes you want friends who are going to encourage you to jump. And that's really why the support system is so important.
This is perfect. Now, I'm going to ask you a loaded question, and the question is, we didn't rehearse this. No, we didn't. We didn't rehearse this. Honest. That's true. How has that affected your life? I sense that it's been a dramatic effect upon what you did, even with keys 1 and 2.
Huge, because it went from caring about what everybody else thinks about the things that I wanted to do, right? So I used to give so much of my power to others to tell me what I should be doing or how I should be living my life. And it was just about sort of reclaiming that and deciding that I was going to do what was best for me, and that selfishness isn't always a bad thing, right? That sometimes you have to put yourself first and do what works for you, because when you do that, all your other relationships become stronger because of that, because you're at the best you can be, because you're happy doing what you want to do, then you're going to spread that. And T.D. Jakes says greatness is contagious. So
He is absolutely right. It's interesting about the fact, I mean, I don't know, you were maybe raised in the same room I was, and we were told that being selfish was not a right thing.
Correct.
We're supposed to help everyone else, and I always have the story that talks about having a holiday and a family sitting around the table, and the mother is preparing a beautiful breakfast. She's got a great big plate full of toast. And it gets down to the last piece of toast. Remember, we talked about that. Last piece of toast. And everyone gets up from the table, and that piece of toast stayed right there. What happened to that piece of toast is we threw it out. Right. Because we were all taught, you don't take that last piece of toast. Yeah. Because that's not right. That sounds like your family too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting to know that these things are available to us. And as you know, with the theme of what we're talking about here, living the lifestyle you deserve, people's attitudes about deserving, feeling worthy, yes, feeling grounded, feeling like, yes, it's okay to do what you want, okay? You can go and get what you want. Sometimes it does sort of get... it gets stuck sometimes. Yeah,
because there's that push-pull to it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering how far can I go to get what I want? Yeah. Okay. And I think, has it got a lot to do with passion, too? Passion
and really understanding what your priorities are, right? You know, it's really about getting clear on those things. What's really important to you? If your family is really important to you and that relationship is really important to you, then you have to be mindful of that in making those decisions. But it's just about making sure that you're addressing those things so you can create those boundaries.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you get a lot of this information in the books that you're writing. We're going to go to break in a few minutes, okay? We're going to go there shortly, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to tell everybody how to reach you at your site. And your site being, you know, Embrace Your Destination. So I want to thank you for that first 2 parts. You know, in the second 2 parts, in the second part, we're going to get into the other 3 keys. Yes. So you've got me excited. I can hardly wait. And you know something? I've already learned an awful lot about how I can live the life I deserve. And it took me a long time to deserve the life I have. Okay, it's not something that's automatic. No. It's not at all easy to do. So, Sandra Dawes, it's exciting to have you here, and I'll tell you something, building more loving relationships in your life, you talked about that. You've also talked about improving how we ground ourselves and how we move ahead. So living the lifestyle you deserve is something that you've joined us in our own group. Yes. And we're really pleased that you have. So we're going to go to break very shortly, and I want to thank all of the listeners for being here. This is Living the Lifestyle You Deserve, and we're talking to Sandra Dawes today, and her subject is the 5 keys to living. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of Living the Lifestyle You Deserve. My name is Robert Keller. I'm your host. We're into the back half of this presentation, and we're interviewing Sandra Dawes, who is an author, speaker, and certified life coach, and she's the founder of Embrace Your Destiny. Today, we're talking about the 5 keys to living an extraordinary life. Sandra, we're back on. You've given us the first 2 keys. Now we're looking for the next 3, please. So
yes.
What's the third one? What's the magic in the third?
So we've talked about getting clear on your goals. We've talked about silencing the peanut gallery. The third is having faith. And faith, when I talk about faith, I'm not talking about it in religious context. It's really about having faith in yourself and your beliefs, what you're capable of achieving, and the belief that everything happens for a reason,
yes.
right? Which goes back to my recovering control freak part of it, is that there was a time when I wanted things to happen the way I wanted them to happen, when I wanted them to happen. And understanding that sometimes things are just totally out of your control and you have to just be able to surrender to that. And
Is that frustrating when you get to that point?
It can be, and that's why I've had to learn to just sort of let it go sometimes and not want to have control over everything, because it's impossible, right? We don't have control over the weather. We don't have control. When I did my book launch in December 2013, that was the ice storm. The day of the book launch party was when the ice storm happened. I mean, you can't plan for these types of things, right? And you can't be upset about it because it was completely out of your control. How would I have known that December 22nd there would be a horrible ice storm? Exactly. But these things happen, and that's okay. And you have to understand, and you have to believe and trust that these things happen for a reason, and that you're not being punished for this, or it's not karma coming back to bite you in the butt. But these things just happen sometimes, and once you're able to just let go of that, then when you hit those obstacles and challenges on the road to your goal, you're not thinking that it's a sign that it's not meant to be. Right? You're looking at it as, okay, this happened, let's move on from it. And to go back to the whole traffic, GPS road trip thing, it's if you're headed downtown and your GPS tells you that there's an accident, or you hear on the radio that there's road closures, you're not going to turn back and go home. You're just going to look for, depending.
I need to be talking to you more.
But it's about looking at alternate routes to get you to that final destination. Right. And that's, I think, the important thing to consider, especially if that goal is something that is really important to you, is looking at other ways to get there. Because at the end of the day, when you started on that path, you didn't know everything you needed to know to get you there. And there are going to be new things and new people who come into your life that are going to show you new and probably more efficient and effective ways to get to that end goal. So just be open, be flexible, and have faith that it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to.
This is cool. And sometimes this can be difficult for people to wrap their heads around,
Definitely.
Because they've lived in a world so long where all the planning's done for them, and all of a sudden the gate opens and they're sort of, do they feel lost? I guess they do feel lost, don't they? I mean, living the lifestyle you deserve is all about gratifying your life, your being, who you always wanted to be, and all of your own personal dreams. It's not about working with everyone else and helping to save the world, kumbaya. I mean, I love the West Coast, but it is kumbaya.
Yeah.
Okay. But, it's very interesting. And this has affected, I think it's affected you, I sense it's affected you in a dramatic way.
It definitely has, and it's just about really understanding that, when things are important to you, that you find a way to make it happen. And I'm sure we've all had things where it didn't seem like it was going to work out, or it seemed impossible, but you found a way, and the gratification and the fulfillment you feel when you get to that final destination, regardless of the challenges, is so fulfilling. And that's what I want people to really focus on, instead of focusing on the challenges and the pain that is happening right now. Know that this too shall pass, and that there's better coming.
Have you reached most of your benchmarks that you were going for? I mean, before, this whole idea of those 5 keys is such a personal thing to you. I know it is.
Yes.
It's such a personal thing. Do you find yourself today, for the benefit of those people who are trying to live the life they desire, and the reason why they're really viewing us today, and particularly yourself, is there's this sense of urgency where they know that they want to be someplace.
Yes.
they have a tough time finding that. Okay, so I'm not going to mention that more than 20 times. But you have, I mean, you to me, look, you're glorious. You're radiant. You're successful. You've done a lot of the things you want, and this had to be challenging enough for you. So for the purposes of those watching the show, off script if you want, was it as difficult as they're making it?
It is challenging because it's a shift in mindset, right? You're questioning the way you've always done things. And for me it was, instead of constantly being reactive, which was how I was living my life for the first 30 years of it, it was being proactive and actually planning, choosing what I wanted for my life instead of reacting to things, events that had happened in my life. And that made a huge difference.
Wow. And you know, that's very valuable to the viewers because they want to, you know, it's the old story about how do you want to become, if you want to become a millionaire, do you go and talk to a university professor? God bless us, everyone, Tiny Tim, but the guy probably doesn't make any more than $150,000. Maybe some do more. Or would you rather talk to someone who's already a millionaire who's got grade 10? If you want to talk to somebody who knows how to change their life, people are more liable to want to speak to you, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a lot of students and you train a lot of people in what you're talking about.
Yes.
This is not just you having had that experience.
No.
You've lived it. And that's what I'm saying. You actually live it. So it's not as if you're just saying you're reading out of a textbook.
No,
You've
it's
literally
not theoretical.
gone through it, right?
Yes.
You've gone through it yourself. Okay, so that's number 3, right?
That's number
key.
3.
You finished with 3?
Yes.
Can we do 4?
Yes.
You're on.
Okay, number 4 is actually creating the plan.
Okay.
Right? Because they say that a goal without a plan is just a dream. So it's about having a plan in place and knowing that that plan is fluid, that you're going to be constantly adjusting it as you learn more about the goal, as you share your goals with other people and they lend their help to you and different things like that. Resources are going to come to you, but you want to have a guide, right? And you want to have benchmarks. You want to know, just like the road trip, you want to know that you're getting closer to your destination. If you don't have those points along the route that help you figure, okay, we're halfway there now, right? So it's about having those benchmarks. And for me, when I work with clients, it's about celebrating when you get to those benchmarks. So you don't have to wait till you get to the final destination to celebrate that you've achieved the goal. You can celebrate those mini successes along the way as well. And that's going to help you to stay motivated, right? So if you're going through a tough time, right, it's like, okay, if I get this done, I'm going to, I don't know, go to Dairy Queen and treat myself to a Blizzard or something. Like, it doesn't even have to be something.
Unless you're on a diet.
Unless you're on a diet. But it doesn't have to be something extravagant, right? It doesn't have to be, you know, an all-inclusive trip to wherever. It can just be something small, but something that means enough to you for you to plow through those challenges and those obstacles that are inevitable in any really meaningful goal that you're going to try to achieve.
Boy, I felt one thing I gleaned from one of the things you said really resonated with me a lot was when you said celebrate every little thing.
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that this doesn't have to be a huge celebration,
no,
but it can be something that's tiny, and you celebrate the tiny things because, by golly, when you get to the big thing, it explodes, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
I never used to do that. I learned something from you, so thank you. Okay, so you've got another key. So is this the 5th key, right?
The 5th key, yes.
Okay. Now, it's not the end of all these keys, but it's just of the 5th one of the 5 you're presenting.
Yes. Okay. So we've talked about getting clearer. We've talked about silencing the peanut gallery. Okay. We're talking about having faith. We've created the plan now. And the 5th thing is to actually take action on the plan. Okay. And I think that for a lot of us, that's where we sometimes pump the brakes. Right? Is that, you know, we get all the way to that point, we have the plan in place, but then the fear kicks in.
Yes.
Right? That's when the negative self-talk really starts to speak the loudest is, well, what if this doesn't work? And what if I am really crazy? What if all those people who told me that this is never going to work, what if they're right? And all the what ifs start to kick in. And you have to really find a way to push through that and know that, and really ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? You know, sometimes we create these big boogeymen and all these things and these worst case scenarios, and they never, even if it doesn't work out, even if you don't get to that final destination, even if you fail, in trying to achieve this goal. It never is as bad as we think it's going to be, right? For most of us, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your house. It doesn't mean that you're going to go bankrupt. It doesn't mean that you're going to end up in jail. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as bad as we make it out to be. And that's why I love Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Because, and for me, that was such a great book because it was understanding that fear is there. It's not that we have to deny that we're fearful of things. It's accepting that the fear exists, but pushing past it and doing what we want to do anyway.
Fear is quite normal. And it's interesting because I can't recall who actually coined this statement. And I'm going to post it on the Living the Lifestyle You Deserve website, so that anybody who's viewing this can take a look and see who it is, because I want to go back and look. But thanks for reminding me. But here's what the saying was: 95% of all the things we worry about never happen.
Right.
Never happen.
Yeah.
Do you remember who said that?
No.
I don't. But I'm going to post and find out who it was. But isn't that the truth, isn't it? And you know, you get all wrapped up on our shorts about what coulda, woulda, shoulda, mighta, and all these things. And in the meantime, the world goes by, and you and I, you know, if we know how to take the action, is what you're saying. Yeah. If you take the action, there's going to be bumps in the road. Correct? Yes. This is not an easy street.
No, no.
You know, just you know, it's filled full of pain. Is there a certain, there's got to be a level of what, pain and urgency with everything we do, correct?
Yes.
You know, and I think you and I see some of those things. We see people all the time, including, I'm sure, talking to some of the viewers out there right now, are feeling that kind of pain where it may sound oh so easy to live the life you deserve and desire. In your particular case, you've got these 5 keys, and you know, they're remarkable keys. And you've actually lived them all.
Yep.
And I'm still in the process of living them all because I'm still, I believe in the self-improvement thing. Yes. And obviously you do too, or we'd be talking. It's a
constant journey and a constant evolution, right?
Isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
And I think for me, so instead of focusing on what could go wrong, is what if you do succeed, right? So choose to focus on what your world could look like if you do get to that final destination. So instead of looking at how the world could fall apart if it doesn't work out, think about what amazing things can happen, not just for yourself, but for everybody else around you, and maybe globally, depending on what that end goal that you're trying to achieve is, and really focus on that, because that's what's going to reignite that flame and get you excited again and passionate again about that goal when you're hitting those challenges and obstacles.
And you know, Sandra, we're going to wind up very shortly, and I want to thank you for giving us these pearls of wisdom that you've given us on your 5 keys. You know, you are obviously a remarkable woman, and you've lived what it is, and I think it's very outstanding to have lived what you live and go and promote what you do and promote what you believe in, because I think it makes a lot of difference, and living the lifestyle you deserve is really thankful for people like you in this world, because you make a difference. And you know, I guess with a final sort of a question as a wrap up, do you figure, are you still working on self-development yourself?
Always.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel?
It feels good because you know that there's always something to work on. You know what I mean? Like, even as your self-awareness expands, you learn more about the things that you want to develop more of and things like that.
Well, look, that's fantastic, and thank you very much. We're going to wrap this up now. Thanks very much for joining us on Living the Lifestyle You Deserve. This is Robert Keller, and I do hope you live the lifestyle you deserve going forward, because it's very important to both of us, and most importantly, it's important to you. So, thanks again for being here. Living the Lifestyle You Deserve. My special guest today, thank you, Sandra, for being here, and thank you, folks, for showing up. Without you, there would be no show, and living the lifestyle you deserve is no small thing. We really